Before we get into the video, I wanted to share a special tool that David and I have been using for over 2 years to manage our inventory on Amazon. The tool is called SoStocked, and it is a very powerful tool. It's designed specifically for inventory management. If you're in a physical products business selling on Amazon, you need to be in stock, especially with the inventory restrictions lately. This tool is incredibly powerful. If you're having trouble with inventory management, this might be a tool to help you. SoStocked is partnered with Firing Demand, and they've offered our guests, our listeners, a 30-day free trial. So click the link in the video description to get 30-day free trial. On to the video.
Welcome, everyone, to the Firing Demand podcast. On today's episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Max Sinclair. Max is the founder and CEO of eCommerce.ai, which focuses on the intersection of e-commerce and content, leveraging the power of AI. Prior to founding eCommerce, Max spent 6 years at Amazon, where he worked. I'm going to start that one over. Prior to founding eCommerce, Max spent 6 years at Amazon. While he was there, he worked on launching Amazon Business in the UK, the country launch of Amazon in Singapore, and led the launch of Amazon Grocery across the EU. Very excited to talk to Max today. Welcome to the show, Max.
Great to be here. Good to meet you, David and Ken.
Absolutely. To start things off, can you please share with our listeners a little bit about your background and path to founding eCommerce.ai?
Sure. So, as you mentioned, my background pre-content was very heavily Amazon focused. I joined Amazon out of university. I had a couple of jobs beforehand. Well, I had like started my own business way back when, but went to Amazon out of university. My first few years I spent kind of directly working with the sellers, so kind of progressed through the company to managing like the top 5 or 10 sellers in the EU. So these are the anchors and the Sun Valley Techs and kind of really big sellers doing hundreds of, millions of euros a year. And then I was part of the team that launched Amazon Business in the UK, was fortunate enough to get out to Singapore and launch Amazon in Singapore. So that was really cool. Spent 6 months doing that. Came back to the EU, or to the UK specifically, in the Amazon grocery team, and was responsible for scaling up supermarket selling for Amazon. So like Morrison's, Monoprix, Dia, like big supermarkets selling 3P via Amazon. So that's where I left.
That's awesome. So welcome to the show, Max. I'm excited to dig in here. Thanks for sharing your background. You've got a lot of years working at Amazon. So we have lots of Amazon sellers that listen to the podcast. And so my first question to you is going to be, with all of your years of experience working for Amazon, what is your advice to Amazon sellers to either like learn how to sell better on Amazon or learn the inner workings of Amazon, how to just navigate better in there? What's your advice on that?
My real perspective on this is that there are no hacks and there are no shortcuts. Amazon is very focused on delivering the world's best customer experience. And that comes above all else, including the seller experience, any other experience that, your sellers probably have been in the other end of that, right? But it comes above all else. Amazon's algorithms and everything else is getting smarter and smarter and smarter, obviously with AI. And therefore, if there was a hack that 2 years ago you could do this and hack the A9 or whatever, all this stuff, it's getting less and less possible, and it's not a long-term solution. So really, incredible products that people really love will be the surest path to success. And I think obviously the content, we focus on generating great content. So, that would be part 2, great content that people can easily understand and can see themselves using and everything else. But apart from having great product listings and great products, I don't think there's really any hacks to this game.
So just to sum that up, if for any of the Amazon sellers that are listening, basically creating a great product and providing excellent customer service to Amazon's customers are the number one thing that you would focus on.
Yeah, and great content. I mean, nowadays, I'm at e-content, so like e-content basically helps Amazon sellers to generate optimized content with AI. And I think there is a lot of changes coming. I'm not sure, maybe we'll get onto it, with how people can search on Amazon. Basically, maybe you've heard of Rufus, but there's a new LLM-based search which is coming where works like ChatGPT. People will put in their desired intent, like I am going skiing, and Amazon, rather than surfacing 50 products, will will reply to you like an LLM, like ChatGPT. Oh, you're going skiing, you're going to need a hat, you're going to need several different items cross category, and it's going to create that for you. And it's my really strong belief that come the end of the year, the majority of customers will be using this rather than the traditional search. So I think optimizing for selling, to an LLM is going to be new and very disruptive. So I might, caution what I said before to that, but I think ultimately there'll be, in the long term, there'll be no hacking this LLM. You need great products that people really love. And the systems will work that out, and it will surface it to the right customers who are shopping for that particular niche.
Very nice. Very nice. Can you tell us about your journey of founding and growing eComTent, and what were some of the challenges you faced along the way?
Mm-hmm. I think, like yourself, David, as we spoke briefly before, have always wanted to found my own business. I had, as I mentioned, a small business whilst I was at school, nothing exceptional, but kind of I ran like an agency helping my school friends to get like babysitting and dog walking jobs with local parents. So kind of, set up a website and all this kind of stuff. So it's always really been part of me. And I guess I had tried to do various side hustles whilst in Amazon, like 2 or 3 different things. And I kind of got to the conclusion that nothing would work unless I put all of my focus and intention into it, because, I'm working a 8 to 7 job. I wouldn't say 9 to 5 job, right? You're working longer hours than that. Maybe on average, I don't know. You're working 8 till 6 on average, right? So not terrible, but you're working a hard job. Like, I also want to be fit. I want to go to the gym. I need to keep maintain, myself, kind of physically. It's important to me. And also, I want to see friends and family and the rest of it. So when you kind of put all those things together, I'd be working on these side projects, and it would get, 2 hours every other evening or something like that. It just was not enough time and attention to do anything. And that was kind of my feeling. And then my now co-founder showed me the first release of Stable Diffusion. This is in September 2022, where you could type in a text and generate an image. This is before ChatGPT, and I'd never seen technology like this before. And it was completely magical. And I think maybe people forget about how insane this was when they first saw it. And I said to him, he's a PhD in AI. I said to him, could you place a product in that scene? Could you take a water bottle, put it in the image, generate that, and generate like a lifestyle image. And he built the first demo of that over a weekend, and it had all these issues of distortions and hallucinations and all this kind of stuff that people associated with like early LLMs and diffusion models. But fundamentally, I was like, wow, this is, he was confident he could get it right. I was confident in him. And I was like, this could be so transformative. And it was literally, to me, like being at the start of the internet. And, it all came very quickly in November with ChatGPT, but this is kind of even before that. So it was like, this is going to be just huge. And therefore, I thought that this was, my once in a lifetime chance. So we went full time basically since then. We've gone through a lot of different interactions and buildings. We've now had a patent on our technology. We've raised money. Like, a lot of stuff has happened since that point. Lots of happy customers. But yeah, that was kind of, the actual reflection point for me was I was considering handing in my notice at Amazon. This was in the few days after I'd seen this demo, and I'm very into my cold water swimming. So I was with my friends, and Saturday morning we're going into the ponds. I kind of jumped into the lakes, and I just had this epiphany that I was just I just have to do this. This is the thing for me. And then that, Monday had my notice, and then that was that.
Very nice. Very nice. The show's called Firing the Man. And so I have a couple follow-up questions here. So what advice would you give to people that are in a similar situation as you, where they're working long hours, they're trying to maintain some sort of balance in their life, but they have this thing gnawing at them that they want to pursue? What advice would you give to them?
I think I'm in a very fortunate position because I don't have any dependents. I don't have any children. So I think maybe, I don't know what stage people are at, but I don't have any major responsibilities. So my framing for this was twofold. Firstly, Jeff Bezos, talk about the man. He has this framework called regret minimization framework, which is basically do the thing that you're going to regret least when you look back on your life, when you're on your deathbed. And that's kind of how to think about decisions. And like from that perspective, it was really clear to me that like, thinking about that, would I regret not, founding literally one of the first AI businesses like there's hundreds now, but we were one of the first in this space. It was obviously going to be massive. Would I regret that enormously? Would I regret, staying at Amazon, churning out another year, getting slightly higher on the pyramid? No, I'm not. I don't miss out for a second, right? So that framework really helped me. My grandpa was still around then, and I talked to my grandpa, and I put it to him. I said, literally using this framework. I was like, he was in his 80s. What was your perspective, right? My parents were dead against me doing this, as parents often are. But he was like, do it, do it for 2 years. If not, you'll find another job. It won't be a problem. So that perspective is like not just a framework, but then actually kind of like talking to someone with that perspective really helped me to be like, I'm not, if my grandpa, who I still have a lot of respect for, if he believes that was that's what I would regret less in my life, then I'm gonna, I believe him, and that's the path that I should take.
Very nice. Very nice.
Just kind of one follow-up on that. And like David mentioned, the show is Firing Demand. And so we really like to dive into that. And so now that you're on, how long ago did you put your notice into Amazon?
I left in September 2022.
Almost 2 years then.
Right.
And so, I'm proud of you. That's awesome. It takes big balls to do a major step like that. And a lot of people choose against it, choose not. It sounds like you went out and you sought different advice from different people to collectively to make your choice. I really liked the advice your grandfather gave you. It's like, go try it. Worst case scenario, you go back to doing what you were doing before, right? No loss there. So now that you're almost 2 years out of that, were there any things that, do you regret the decision? Do you not? Like, are things better? Are things worse?
I am so, fulfilled, I'd say. Like, it's, I sometimes think back to like, the kind of the speed that we move at eComtent is like mind-boggling, right? We kind of develop, we test, we work with a customer, we like this, we scale that out, it's crazy. And I think back to Amazon, and Amazon was supposed to be one of these companies that move fast. And I remember like trying to get a tech feature prioritized. We'd scope it up, we'd go to the tech team, we'd talk to them, then we'd go to the US, and we debate with the US about this and like the whole thing would take like 6 months to do, like literally what would honestly be about 2 hours work. And now it's like, okay, someone on my team, we're going to do this, do it. And it takes hours and it's done. No, there's no part of me that misses. I guess one thing is that you do miss the kind of communal sense of having kind of peers. I think, in a workspace, and what I've got, which I'm very fortunate for, is like a good community of founders that I'm part of. And I think that is super important. That, we have a catch up call every 2 weeks. We just had it earlier, and like, you talk to everyone, how, everyone's in a similar stage to us. How are they doing? These people are my good friends as well, and we get a lot of advice from that. So I think the communal aspect is kind of maybe one thing, which you don't get when you're starting out by yourself. But I mean, like, if you put that against like the other, being able to stand up for yourself in the world on your own 2 feet and make something, it's just like not comparison.
Awesome. Yeah, that's invaluable advice for the listeners that are contemplating whether they want to, do this or not. And so thanks for sharing. I want to get into a bunch of things. So one, you mentioned Rufus earlier. I wanted to get into that.
Yep.
So I also want to get into eComtent and kind of what you guys are doing in there. And so maybe we can kind of probably drive into both of those. And so can you share with the listeners what Rufus is, and for all of the Amazon and e-com sellers, how is this going to impact the next 12 to 24 months in terms of search and product market fit, things like that? My
honest belief is that this is going to be the most disruptive thing to happen in Amazon in years since mobile. I think like since people who got, now something like 70% of people shop through mobile, and the sellers who got that really right early on benefited massively. And I think this is possibly even more disruptive. But basically, as I mentioned, like Rufus is an LLM that they've trained that you can type in questions and get answers. So I mentioned you can shop by occasional purpose. I gave that example already. You could like find recommendations, like, give me the best gift for Valentine's Day, give me a good gift for a 6-year-old's birthday party. And you can also kind of, when you're on a specific product, ask specific questions about that product detail page, like, what's the size or whatever of this product. So it's basically like your shopping assistant on Amazon. And my really strong belief is that this is just such a better, customer experience. Anyone who's used ChatGPT will kind of intuitively understand how to work with this model. And I think consumers, or like all of us who buy stuff from Amazon, I guess there might be some categories which might be a bit different, but broadly, like if I'm buying a new kettle, I don't know anything about kettles. I don't really care about the kettles. I'm going to ask Rufus, like, hey, what's the best kettle? Rufus is going to know like my average spend. It's going to know, it can know the size of my house. Like it's going to know all these details about my purchase history. So it's going to say, hey, Max, here's 5 that are good. And I'm going to say, okay, like I want one that like boils in a minute. Which one does that? Bang, there you go. Fine. Like I'm not going to spend hours and hours going through the different product pages anymore. And like, so I think it's going to be completely transformative. And at eComtent, to kind of in your second question, like we have been thinking about this from basically ground zero. Like we're building an AI native. So we help to generate the lifestyle images, infographics, and keywords. But our real edge is going to come in optimizing for these LLMs, because LLMs are a difficult beast. They drift, they change all the time. We are, we've been doing pilots with slightly smaller live kind of LLM based shopping assistants that are out now. There's, if you're a Shopify seller, you can find, these kind of plugins already for your store. Like we've been working with some of these folks, and we'll be monitoring how Rufus is evolving and what's needed to surface, and we'll be, helping sellers to rank there.
Let's continue on this theme of Rufus. So when this is introduced, there's certainly going to be groups of sellers that are ahead of the curve and
Yes.
strongly benefit from this. And there's going to be people that are left behind. As an operator, what are some things that we can be doing now to prepare ourselves for that rollout?
I think number one is quality content. So you want your content on your listing to be explainable in natural language. It's a natural language model. Keywords are going to become a lot less relevant as LLMs work on the basis of tokens and intent. They don't work on the basis of keywords. So the whole framing that we have now of I'm going to go to Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or whoever, and I'm going to put the keywords in, and like that's gone, right? The LLM is going to understand the intent the customer has when saying, hey, I want a 6-year-old gift for my 6-year-old niece. And it's going to match that intent with what it knows about the customer already. It's going to work out what additional stuff to put in there that they're not even putting in there. Like, they might not put in, she likes pink, but they might, Amazon might know that they bought, tons of pink stuff, right? So like there's going to be all sorts of kind of things going into this model. So number one, quality content that explains what your product does, how people can use it. Number two, visual content. This is what we're big at eComtent, but these AI models now can understand images. They don't just understand text, right? So if you have a gray shirt like I'm wearing, and in the title it says blue shirt, but the photo is gray shirt, Rufus is going to understand that that's a gray shirt, and they're going to put more weighting towards the images in terms of color and other aspects, right? Whereas with the keyword-based world we live in today, it's not the case. You put in a color, you're going to get all sorts of random colors come up on Amazon. So like images, which kind of have lifestyle images that show how your product is used. Again, in this example, the 6-year-old girl having an image of like a girl who looks about 6 years old with the product is going to help Rufus to understand the context of that product, right? So using all of your images space to basically to sell to the AI, not just to the humans. Content, Q&As are going to be super important. The customer reviews and Q&As, like Amazon have openly said this is what they're training it on. So you want to have really in-depth, answers and everything else. You're not just replying to that customer anymore, or that particular customer, you're telling Amazon like how it should respond to customers when searching for your kind of product. So the Q&As would be another one. And I think the last one, and I could go on, but I'll stop. The last one would be regular optimization. I think people are going to, either through software or manually, they're going to need to track this. They're going to need to work out what's working, what isn't. And they should be refining the listings, because these models are going to shift, right? So what was working for you in January and what works for you in March is not going to do the same thing. And I think anyone who's used ChatGPT will have felt this, that there were periods where they change a model model or whatever, and suddenly the prompt that worked really well is now giving you really weird and bad results. And the answer is like they've introduced new data to the model, or like they've done some change and like it's gone over here, but somewhere way down somewhere else, it's made a change and nobody really knows how these AI models work. Like in essence, like how they compress the information is still a black box to the scientists. So changes will have unforeseen consequences, which means the models are going to drift. People are going to need to stay up to date.
A couple style lines just kind of in this, Rufus. So one is, do you think this is something that we've been focusing on a lot lately, is going through, I don't know how many sellers focus on this or not, but if you look in the back end of like the category listing report, there are hundreds of columns of descriptions or fields for, age range, color, what is this product made of? So do you think filling all of that information out is going to be able to train that model more for your specific product? And
I definitely think the changes in the flat files is going to have a big impact. You definitely want to, give the AI as much information as possible, right? That's going to be key. Yes.
And the other thing is that what you'd mentioned is something that we have not done yet, but I think it might become more important, is in the Q&A, taking the top 10 uses for that product, or if they don't exist in the Q&A, go and create as a customer saying, hey, what's your best water bottle usage, or whatever. And then you can kind of go in with your phrase of, hey, this is boom, 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 things like that.
The AI models like repetition. If you're prompting and you repeat something, it's, you want to get something right, often repeating it, the important thing multiple times in the prompt helps the AI. And so therefore, as you say in the Q&As, even if you're repeating what's literally like up in the listing, they're literally training the model off your Q&A. So I would 100% do, as you say, I think it's a very good idea.
And then now we've noticed, our operations team has noticed a few of our listings the titles are getting kind of swapped around, and we're opening cases and Amazon saying we're in beta on testing a few things. And so I think they've already started rolling this Rufus out. What are your thoughts on that, and how much have you seen?
So I think what sellers don't realize, or maybe sellers do realize, is how much of a mess and separate these Amazon teams are. Like I can't explain how, I was responsible for setting up the cataloging in Singapore, right? It's my job to kind of do the browse nodes and everything like this. And the reason that you do this locally is because there's different laws, there's different sizes, there's different, also there's 100 reasons why, the Singapore layout of how people should browse and search needs to be different from, the main one. But it is just a nightmare to talk even internally to the same teams. There's just Amazon is so big and there's so much tech that's been built. There's so much changes that needs to happen. So I think that the people who are I hear a lot of people talk about this in the communities and say, they've done this change on Seller Central. The Seller Central team are optimizing titles. Therefore, the Rufus team are using these teams literally probably don't even know each other exist, right? That's honestly my view on this, right? There's no central meeting where where all these people come in. There's just so many different teams, and I think maybe they might report into the same manager way up high in the VPs and whatever, but the tension, I can tell you the tensions between different teams, and we're both reporting into same VP, and one team saying, we care about this thing, we care about I'm in charge of titles and I want all the titles to look uniform, and that's my team's thing is we want to get rid of characters, and we however they're gold. And then you have the other team, which is Rufus, we want to improve search. They're scientists and researchers. I just don't think that these things are related. And I will I'm not gonna give this example, but I was talking to one person who's very well known in the Amazon community, very good speaker. He was talking about this thing that happened, and I talked to one of my friends who was an AI engineer in AWS who worked on this, and they're like, oh no, we're not we've literally built our own model. It's completely separate from that example. So I think that these teams are very disparate, and from being there, there's really not that much kind of common strategy putting, there's obviously common strategy, but there's not they're not talking to each other nearly as frequently as they should be.
Do you know the roadmap of Rufus? Is it what are your best guess, your crystal ball?
My crystal ball is that Rufus is already in beta, so some customers already have it. They're working out, they're getting feedback. My view will be that it will work something like Bing. Have you used Microsoft Edge and Bing? Yeah. So if you use that browser, you literally have the chatbot. I've got it now in the side of your browser, so you can kind of always use Bing. So I imagine you will have the search, and then next to it you'll have a little Rufus, or maybe they'll rename it to something which is a bit easier for people to get a hold with, and they'll just click that, and then they'll start typing in then it will go on. I think it will be integrated soon, like into the heart of like Amazon search, and people will either be doing like their old search, or they'll be like clicking like 2 centimeters away to interact with Rufus, and it'll be very seamless between them.
Anything else on Rufus that we want to cover before we switch gears and talk about eComtent?
No, I think, yeah, we've got into depth there.
For people that have never heard of eComtent, can you explain what it is?
As I mentioned, the company started out as an image generation company. Like, with that was the first thing we built, was our image generation model. And, we've now patented it. And it is like, I encourage people to try it or look at it. Like, it is the best on the market. And, I'd say that with confidence to your base set. But we've kind of evolved to basic, like, eComtent, the name comes from e-commerce content. And the vision is to basically help sellers optimize their content with AI across different channels. So like optimal content for eBay, optimal content for Amazon. And the vision would be you come to eComtent once and you can list these different channels, and, you'd have the 250 characters for your Amazon listing, you'd have the 80 characters for your eBay listing, and you'd have the right images for each one. So that's kind of where we're going. Where we are now is we're like very much focused on Amazon. We're just focused on, we've got optimized keywords, we've got lifestyle images, we've got infographics in terms of generating benefits and generating dimension infographics. So you can basically generate a very high quality listing in one click on Amazon. I don't know when this is launched, but we're working on A+ content generation now in one click, and that will be a month or two from today. So yeah, that's kind of where we are.
For some of your customers, can you share any success stories of customers that have used eComtent?
We've got a load of case studies on our website, but top of my mind is one customer who is a knife seller. They're called Silly Slick, knife seller on Amazon, and we have worked with them to AI generate a lot of their content. I don't know if you'll be searching them up now. We've worked with them to generate a lot of their content. They are now on page 1 when it comes to titanium kitchen knife. We've helped them with. We've done some split testing on Product Opinion. If you know Product Opinion, it's like an A/B testing site, and 88% of customers prefer the AI generated listings that we've helped them with versus others. So that's a case study that we've got live. We've got a couple of others on the website. We've worked with some of the aggregators. We've worked with some other, sellers. So yeah, we've got a few that are live as case studies.
Very nice. I'm looking at it's Silly Slick, SILLYSLICK.
SILISLICK.
I just pulled these up now, and as a person that's been in the infographic and lifestyle image game for a while, these are really, really good. And I think I would encourage all of our listeners to go check this out. And this is something, let me ask you this. For somebody maybe a little bit newer to the Amazon game, sometimes it's challenging to come up with brand new infographics and lifestyle images. However, if you see a brand that's doing a great job, oftentimes it's easier to observe somebody doing a great job. And so, yeah, I guess I answered my own question. Silly Slick is a great example. Any other like gold standard brands that you think do a really good job here, whether they're customers or not?
Well, on customers of ours, well, I think the people who do it best, sadly, are not yet customers of eComtent, and they are Anchor. And I worked with them in 2018, I think, and they just blew me away with how they approached Amazon. And I was very young back then. Well, not very young, but I was younger than I am now. And I was their account manager, and I remember kind of meeting these guys, and they just were so much more advanced than like what I knew about. I was learning from them about selling on Amazon rather than it, and they were so brilliant in the product development. Like, I remember they showed me like their roadmap, and they had like those projectors, which is like a mini projector we can project onto a white wall, and it would so these are quite common now, but like back then, like 6 years ago, this was a new thing, right? And they had those, and they had like the Roombas that are quite common again now, but like, they had all this like new fancy tech. I mean, they're obviously famous for the power banks and this kind of stuff. They were like just so focused on great product development, and yeah, also they look beautiful in terms of the infographics and the lifestyle and everything. So I think they are, and now they've IPO'd, right? Now they're an incredible business. So I think that is the gold standard on Amazon that I've seen. Yeah.
I'm on the ecomtent.ai website now, and as you and David were kind of chatting away, I was looking over here. The knives, the images are amazing. And what I think is pretty sweet is that you guys offer A+ content, infographics, product images, listing copy, lots of different services, all for Amazon, which is super cool. And so I guess a follow-up question would be, now the Rufus, not to get into that, but like, you guys are obviously very well in tune with what's happening and what's going to happen on Amazon. Now you're crafting this tool that you have to kind of go along with that, or
I'm an ambitious person. My like, our aim is to be the next generation. We're the next generation of these SaaS companies, right? And like, everyone's heard of, I use the Helium 10s and the Carbon 6s and all these. Like, we're the next generation of that. That's how I think about it. We're an AI native. We've been building, like, everything we've built has been in the context of AI and of these models, and we have been fine tuning them since the week after it was possible to do it. And we've done, I'm happy to go into this, like, tons of different experiments on what is possible with AI and what isn't, because as we learned early on, like, a lot of stuff, it's not ready for a lot of things, but we've kind of worked out over the 2 years, like, what does work, and what you can use these models today to produce great results. And that's where we're focused on building.
So we definitely want to have you back on in like 6 months or a year back and talk about, like, maybe Rufus hits us all in the face one day and everybody, smashes over. And so, but anything we didn't ask you that we should ask you that you want to share with the audience?
In what respects? In terms of your content or Rufus?
Yeah, well, anything that we leave on the table. We don't want to leave anything on the table. We want to make sure we cover everything.
I think they probably heard enough from me on the topics. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, cool. So Max, for every guest that we bring on the show, we run them through the ringer. It's called the fire round. Are you ready?
I'm ready for the fire round. Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite book?
Oh gosh. My favorite book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It sounds like a horrible title for a book now, but I remember reading it I was like a year into Amazon, and I always felt that I was, hardworking and smart, and I just couldn't understand why, like, my peers were like getting better projects than me. And then I read the book and I realized, like, I was, it was my fault, and how I was interacting with people was completely wrong. But yeah, it really transformed my career, and I would recommend everyone reading it.
That's a very good book. What are your hobbies?
I play football or soccer for you guys. Though every Saturday I have the same routine. I'm very routine driven, but I play, football at 9:30 in the morning, and I go and I swim in the cold water lakes afterwards. And that is and then I watch the football, the Premier League. So that is like my holy time every Saturday. That's
awesome.
My hobbies.
Who's your club?
Tottenham Hotspur.
Tottenham. What is one thing that you do not miss about working for the man?
Oh my God, I could go on here as well. I think the amount of like corporate HR like bullshit that we had to sit through, and it got gradually like more like I really felt the change in the culture from in the 60s being there. When I joined, there's 350,000 people in Amazon, and we left with like over 2 million. So like the company had grown to a big organization. But I mean, the amount of just stupid trainings, like every week you're sitting through like 4, 5, 6 hours of these like ridiculous like trainings. I've talked to my friends now who are like lawyers and accountants, and there's like, oh, this sensibility training, that, and it's like literally like you can't, no one's doing any work, no one's focused on the customers. People are literally like sitting there like, it's really, I don't miss out at all.
Okay. Yeah. It's not very efficient at that size.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Last one. What do you think sets apart successful entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I think you have to have like perseverance, and you have like, there's definitely going to be setbacks on the journey, right? I think even that when you do get started, like the ones who don't get started, I can't really comment, but like I think you just have to push through. There's always going to be tough times. Like there's times when me and my co-founder weren't taking salaries for like 9 months. Like we raised like 30K USD for the first 9 months. So we had no money to do anything. So it's really tough. And I think there, you just can't, you just have to believe in yourself and push through. And, like someone, if you see a good idea, Someone's going to do it right, and you just have to believe that you're going to be personal, or that your team is going to be those people, and you just have to push through and get that.
Excellent advice.
Absolutely. Max, if people are interested in learning more about this, can you tell us a little bit about the New Frontier podcast?
Yeah, so I've started my own podcast. It's focused on e-commerce and AI. So I would encourage people to look at the New Frontier. It's with a co-host. My co-host is Jo, and she is I want to say AI influencer. She's like, posts on AI about LinkedIn and runs a newsletter. So, and she used to, she's also deep in e-commerce. So she comes from the e-commerce background as well. Yeah, we talk about the latest trends in AI. We get on some guests. I really enjoy it. It's a great part of my day. Like I think what's great about doing a podcast is you can have on interesting people and you get to learn from them. Like you can sit there and ask the questions that are top of your mind. So I recommend people to take a listen if they're interested.
Absolutely. And if people want to check it out, what would be a great starter episode?
Well, what we're doing now, which I would recommend people to listen to, is me and Jo are sitting down and doing like reviews of like the biggest AI trends. So we just did one of Q1. So we have guests on, and the guests are great. And you can see, like, if you're interested in like sourcing in China, there's Gary. And if you're interested in like AI product ideation, there's Amy Weiss. We've got like all these people coming on, so you can look at like specific ones. But what we're testing is like, we both look back on a quarter or a year or a month, and we kind of work out what we think are the three biggest like things that have happened, and we do a bunch of research, and we get on and then we just talk about those like three big developments. So I think those ones are, I think they're they're interesting, and a lot of more work goes into them than the other ones. So like I hope people like.
Awesome. Last question. People are interested in getting in touch with you or working with eComTent. What is the best way to do that?
You can email me at max@ecomtent.ai. eComtent is spelled ECOMTENT. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn at Max Sinclair. I'm on Twitter, Max Sinclair4. So just reach out. Let's, love to show you a demo and let's talk about it.
Awesome. And we'll post links to all that in the show notes. Max, this has been a lot of fun chatting. Thank you so much for your time today, and we're looking forward to staying in touch.
Thanks, David. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks for watching this video. If you got some value out of this, would you please hit the like and subscribe button? This is a free way to support the show, and it really helps us build our